if you dream and if you dream the right thing, which is about tomorrow, then make the change. Jobs are like clothes, you can change them, but you can't change your life.
Anxiety could be a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is when fear is the core issue. It's fine because that's not healthy. But the good thing about anxiety, in my opinion, is it drives you a little bit more to keep going.
I try and teach my students that you cannot get rid of fear. You can only learn to cope with it. Because if you can't cope with your fear, the fear multiplies itself into a monster and then it paralyzes you.
This is a season of grief. They're really grieving this season of they're leaving behind what was most familiar to them and moving into something that is just new. And it's scary and it's hard. So it's really like holding their hand through this and reminding them there's hope and everything's going to be okay.
Welcome to another episode, and today we've been joined by someone who is known as the guru in the field of ad films and filmmaking, to say so, but his story is much beyond his achievement. It is much more to living a fulfilling life, following his passion. Yes, I'm talking about none other than legendary figure in the ad film industry, for that matter, Prahlad Kakkar. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out time to join in here. And also joining us is Cheryl Jacob, who is a therapist. She's a certified therapist in the subject of family and also mental health awareness concern, which is the most important issue we all are dealing with. And she's a mother to 3 children. She's someone who's taking care of her family and also others who are struggling in dealing with their day-to-day life. So welcome, Cheryl, to this program. Thank you both for taking out your time to be with us on India Podcast today. So, Prahlad sir, I would like to begin with you. We have addressed you or grown up knowing you as the ad guru. That's a label. I think you achieved it or got attached to it.
I've never grown up. I definitely don't profess to be a guru. I'm still a learner. I'm learning today as much as I was learning earlier. Now I'm trying to figure out how to use the computer. And my kids just laugh at me all the time. So, I can't even get tough with them because I'm an object of great ridicule in the house because I'm a dinosaur.
So there I have to tell you to begin telling us, because we're going to discuss something which has been an issue for everyone now: depression, anxiety, mental health problems. What is the mantra, one life mantra you would suggest to all the people who are pursuing their passion or struggling in that space? Now it is called struggling to pursue passion, not even just pursuing their passion.
No, all the people who struggle will remain strugglers because they'll keep struggling because they're so comfortable in that mode of struggling. To get out of the mode of struggling, you have to start actioning your dreams. You can't just dream them and hope like hell that somebody else is going to come and complete them for you. You have to do them yourself. Nobody else is out there to complete your dreams. So if you dream and if you dream the right thing, which is about tomorrow, then make the change. Like for instance, take the film industry for instance. There are millions of young kids who want to be actors and stars. They want to be stars, not even actors. Okay? So they haven't even learned how to act. They just want to become a star immediately. And they hope they're going to be discovered. They'll find a godfather or they'll find a relative. Or they'll find somebody who's going to give them a break. Okay? What are they doing in the meantime? Are they preparing themselves to be an actor first? Because that is the DNA. So they do some lousy little course somewhere on the side and they think they've arrived. Now, the problem with these kids is that a lot of them used to come to me and I used to turn around and say, hey, you first figure out whether you're cut out for this industry. Instead of wasting 5 to 10 years just struggling. Maybe you're a brilliant, painter. Maybe you're a brilliant musician. Maybe you're just a great storyteller. You can be so many things which you really enjoy instead of sitting there in Andheri and doing the struggler's normal thing, which is going through all the auditions. And it's been 5 years, so give yourself the time. Be realistic, give yourself a time and say, okay, if I don't make it in this much time, then I'll do something else. But none of them seem to understand that 10 years later, when it's too late, they miss the bus completely. They still want to hang in there and not go back to do a normal job.
Please.
Scary, isn't it scary to be a struggler where you are waiting for a break and every day you think today is going to be my lucky day for 5 years? I mean, isn't doing a job, getting satisfaction, doing something that you enjoy particularly? Now, all of them, when I tell them, why do you want to be an actor? So, I always wanted to be an actor. I used to always act as a child in front of the mirror. What kind of a dream is that?
From there, sir, I'll come back to you there. Cheryl, a very important point Prahlad sir has raised about people not being so clear of what they're pursuing is what they want to pursue. When you're dealing with so many people, taking care of them, how can you define for us what is depression and what is anxiety? Are they just simply calling anything they're not achieving as depression?
Yeah, simply put, I think, okay, so anxiety, I think the easiest definition for it, that is when you have a fear of losing control of something. That's when your anxiety goes up. And depression, simply put, is when your mind is stuck in a specific situation or in a specific circumstance in your life. That's what depression is. When you get stuck, it affects your health. It affects the way you sleep, your eating, everything. It just affects every area of your life. That's probably the shortest definition I'd probably say to define both of those words. Anxiety could be a good thing and a bad thing. The bad thing is when fear is the core issue. It's fine because that's not healthy. But the good thing about anxiety, in my opinion, is it drives you a little bit more to keep going because it's normal to be anxious, to do anything, any major step. You should struggle with anxiety because it's a major step that you're taking. But if you get stuck in that anxious thought and fear stops you from moving forward, that's when it becomes a problem.
That's there from the point you made. As we know your story a little bit in bits and pieces, as we understand your story, when you started off, you were also you were someone who had a degree in economics and you were offered a job in a multinational bank there, and then you chose to come to a creative world. So you are expecting that young talent should be aware of where they want to go much before they start struggling. How did you deal with your lows in life? Because you must have also given a hidden trial to your dreams.
The point is that I realized very early in life that there was only one way not to work.
Okay.
That was to enjoy your work to the extent that it didn't feel like work. Now, not too many people can actually get such clarity so early in their lives that what they don't want to do. I definitely knew what I didn't want to do. And get victory. I mean, look at every successful human being on this planet. He has failed 20 times before he succeeded. The difference between him and everybody else was they admitted their failure and gave up. He didn't. He just kept at it until he succeeded. Now, the fact is that the stigma of failure is so huge in our society. You feel you let down everybody, your parents, your family, your teachers, your whole work, and then you become suicidal. But if we were taught at school that failing is a part of learning and there's nothing wrong with it. There's only thing that's wrong with failing is when you don't learn from it and you keep committing the same mistakes again and again. And history has taught us. We never learn from history. We keep every second generation makes the same mistakes. Look what happened in the Second World War. We're doing the same thing all over again. I mean, they have to just look back and see this is what people did, this is what was the result. To know exactly what the future is going to shape. But everybody is so aggressive and always wants to have their will over everybody else's. That is why the whole world is in a turmoil.
But how did you deal with your lows then? How did you deal with the highs and lows in your journey through?
Well, my lows were when I screwed up. And I realized I screwed up, I'd have to go back to the drawing board. So if happiness becomes a very important coefficient of bringing up our children in terms of what they're good at and what they're not good at, you have to first ask them, what are you happy doing? Don't worry about being an engineer or a rocket scientist or whatever else that we want you to be. And don't worry about the money. Because whatever you do, if you do it properly, you will get the money. The money follows value. You have to create value. How can you create value when you're doing a job which you hate? You can only create value when you love the job that you're doing.
And if you don't get success in the job you love, then
That doesn't matter. You can change your job. A job is a job. So it's your life that we're talking about. You know, jobs are like clothes. You can change them, but you can't change your life.
Cheryl, for you to answer this, you might be dealing with so many people going through the mental issue and awareness coming to you, you're helping them. What is the most common issue you face, especially for the ones coming from the creative field? What is that they're struggling with majorly? So that we can also let Prahlad sir know what are the issues that people find in the struggling world.
Yeah. I think a common issue that I've been hearing is one, I think there's family discord that's coming out even more. There's a lot of the common thing I hear is my family's driving me crazy, or my parents or my husband or spouse is driving me crazy. That's one. The other thing I would say is they have an inability to see what is beyond this season. You know, they're in a stuck phase right now. I think what I try to help them through is to help them put words or language to what they're feeling right now. So I think what I'm seeing is this is a season of grief. You know, they're really grieving this season of they're leaving behind what was most familiar to them and moving into something that is just new, and it's scary and it's hard. So it's really like holding their hand through this and reminding them there's hope and everything's going to be okay. Yes. So what I've seen from the before was people were just able to keep going and going. Like if something happens, you pick up something else. Like you were able to do that. In this season, what else do you do? Like you feel like they tell themselves, I had A, B, and C plan. None of those things are planning out. I don't have another plan right now. So where am I going? And so that's when the depression and anxiety is on the rise, because they're really having a hard time seeing past the season right now.
From you one thing, how do you suggest people who are in the creative zone, though, in this entire business of filmmaking, advertisement, and artists to say so, do they need to give away some of their beliefs and talent to fit into the industry and the situation?
Not at all. The only thing that they have to give away is an opinion of themselves and how much money they're worth. You know, anybody who's really talented and wants to prove it has to prove it on the job. And if they walk into an office and say, listen, I will do whatever it takes to prove to you that I'm worth whatever you pay me for, because I will not take any salary for the first 6 months. And I'll work.
Can everybody afford that? I mean, it's not everybody's privileged background that allows them.
Then you find another job, because nobody is going to allow you to prove it. So nobody's going to pay you a huge amount of money and find out 6 months later that you're not really worth any nappets of it. That you claimed. Where do you get a resume for creativity? You don't. When you apply for a job, you say, I'm a BA, I'm a MA, I'm a PhD, I'm a this, that. Where does it say that I am a creative human being? I write poems. I write
there are degrees. They have bachelor degrees for advertising now. I mean, in your generation, it might not happen.
What they teach them is management.
Yes.
The bachelor degree for advertising is partly advertising. Most of it is how to be a suit. And in advertising, suits are hated because they're square. And everybody's trying to get out of the box because it's square. And you've got a suit sitting on your head who's telling you, no, the client is not going to like this.
But if somebody doesn't find to fit himself in the industry despite giving his best, what does the person need to do at that point? Should give away the dream and come out of the career suddenly?
Needs to go to Cheryl, sit for counseling, and find out really what he has an aptitude for, because nobody goes for an aptitude test nowadays, I feel. Right?
That's true.
Children actually go and see what their aptitude is for. They might be great at numbers.
Taking from Prahlad's point of view, how does one know that this is the right time to go to the counseling? Because still there is a stigma attached to it for some reason, but also not knowing this is the right time, because we kind of believe what we are doing is good for us. And we blame everybody, situation, people not accepting us, but not realizing, as Prahlad said, that we might not be fit for it. So how and when do you realize?
There is no right time. The time is now, whatever time it is. Because I'll tell you, you always find somebody to counsel you who might be a friend, who might be a mother, who might be a girlfriend, who might be an older woman, who might be somebody who sympathize with you, so you can offload on her. But instead of it being a non-professional, look for a professional.
How do you know that, and when?
So, when to go to counseling, I do agree with Prahlad. There's no wrong time to go to counseling. I think everyone benefits from talking to someone, right? Like counseling is just a conversation that just leads to growth. So it's not ever, there's no bad timing for that. So if it's a question that people often wonder, like, okay, is this a need to go to counseling? Go talk to someone. And especially if it's a situation where you have a hard time getting unstuck from whatever you're thinking, that's a good time to definitely go see someone. And a right therapist would be someone. So these are three things that is very important to me when I'm talking to someone is I go to someone who's trained and who's very experienced in that specific area of my struggle or my concern, another thing would be I would definitely go to someone who is a good listener. I want to be not someone who's just ready to just give me a quick fix, give me a quick solution. I need to know that they are really good listeners. And the third one is I need to know that they deeply care about my story and not dismiss it and just be quick to just think of me as another person. I want them to know that I'm cared for by this person and that my story matters to them. So those are the three things that I would look for when you're talking to someone, for sure. I would say go through referrals, like, ask friends, like, hey, do you know of anyone that is good in this area, like anxiety, depression, whatever the issue is, marital issues, and then get references. And you never know until you try, right? Like, it's just like if you go to a doctor and if you don't like that doctor, you go to another doctor. So you just try it out, just like there's no perfect therapist out there. But I would say those are the three things I'd say that is core in looking for someone. It's just make sure that you feel cared for by this person.
They must resonate with whoever it is, whether it's child or an adult or a semi-adult. There has to be a sense of resonation. There has to be acceptance of the fact that you are permanently disabled. And even among the psychiatry, people, there are millions of psychiatrists who got a degree for the sake of the degree. They're not really interested in what they're doing. They want to earn a living, and that's why they think that being a shrink can give them a damn good life by charging shitloads of money from anybody who wants any kind of therapy. But that's why in every profession you have to look for people who are firstly not interested in the money. Secondly, who are genuinely concerned about the patients that they have and they're willing to listen to them. And that is the true acid test. You have to first turn and say, sorry, I can't afford it. Will you listen to me nonetheless? And if that person says, of course, then you know you found the right person.
Right. That's the one question to you. You've always been known for someone who's encouraged talent, not just created talent, but encouraged them, held their hand through their journey and being very secured there as a human being, as I know you and know about you. Have you observed why there is such a rise or recognition of this whole space of being unsure, or you said being lost? What is the reason this rise has come in? Depression, anxiety, all these terms have quite now become the most common word for everybody.
What happens in most homes? This little girl with a little pretty frock comes out with a whole lot of guests. And the parent turns around and says, baby, inke liye gana ga, baby, inke liye naach kar. And you grow up performing for an audience in your drawing room who is groaning and saying, oh God, I came here for dinner and now I'm being subjected to this baby dancing and singing for me in a Besura voice. That baby grows up thinking, I'm meant for this.
And that happens even today.
All the time. What do you mean even today? Of course it happens today. So parenting has a lot to do with a lot of the issues that children face today. It's expectations from the parents. It's what you think they expect from you. And they never ever turn around and say that, listen, hello, whatever you do, you'll always be our son and we will always love you and don't worry about it. Like success and failure are the same fraud person. So don't get carried away by success. Don't get carried away by failure. Everything will pass. Just find what you're happy with. You see, I'll tell you something. What our entire education system today and our entire parenting system today is completely wonky because they do not teach their children how to be happy. They only teach their children how to make money. Now, since when were these two compatible? That at any cost you make money and then you'll be fine. And it doesn't solve any problems. No, nowhere in education, nowhere in counseling, nowhere in this country today, in this country, do you turn around and say, my boy, if you're happy, we are happy. I don't care what you do. You can become a mochi. But just do it well, because if you're happy doing what you're doing, I know you'll excel in it.
We're also in a culture where we just don't give our kids permission to feel, whatever it is that they're feeling. They're told to feel whatever whatever the parents tell them, that's what they're expected to feel. Like things that I hear is like when I talk to someone, they say that I'm struggling with anxiety and my parents don't understand. They tell me, oh, it's going to be okay, just get over it. So some in our culture now, in this generation, they don't know what is okay to feel and what's not okay to feel. They're not given permission to do so.
Parents now more often than counseling just the children? Is it a part of the whole therapy that you have to go about?
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for family therapy. I'm such a big advocate for that, because I think you can help the children, you can help them, but if you can't help them, the person that's raising them is, you can't help their mindset, how are you going to help the child? So it's like, I think family therapy is absolutely important.
Do you think there is a stigma still attached to family, be it parents or the child, as to go and sharing their story? Even now, I mean, there's embarrassment. Like, why do I tell the world I'm depressed? I mean, I rather act not to be depressed.
Yeah.
No. Everybody is taught to be to hang in and hold it inside themselves. Nobody lets it all hang out, and it is such a relief to be able to talk to somebody who's not judgmental, because everybody in the family is judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
So when you tell them something which is a deep and dark secret inside you, take for instance a young boy turns around and says, I'm a gay, I've realized I'm a gay. Yeah. And he has to break it to the family. If you don't have a counselor out there, they'll all commit suicide.
Yeah.
That's what is happening.
So, that's exactly what's happening. And it's such a stigma that, oh God, nobody is concerned about the happiness of the boy. Mm-hmm. Nobody is concerned that what is going to make him happy. See, the point is that when I have my kids come to my office, or they come for counseling, or I talk to them just on a one-to-one, I never judge. I never judge because I hate being judged. Mm-hmm. And it comes from within me. It says, whatever you hate yourself, why would you inflict it on somebody else?
Yeah, I do agree with not feeling judged by that person. And it's also reminding them they're human, so we live in this world, I think we live in a world where we have not given ourselves permission to even be human, you have to remind, we all will struggle. If you haven't struggled, you haven't lived life, and so I'm a huge, it's really important to me for people to really know their story and to identify what they're feeling and to give them permission to feel that thing, And the stigma, I think it's because they're so fearful of not feeling accepted. All human beings, all across the board, no matter where you're from, we all want to feel accepted. And if we don't feel accepted, it's easier to shut down and not talk about it and pretend everything is okay. But it's only you struggling on the inside, but the outside world has no idea what's going on. So
how do you deal with that stigma? Do you think what's the way out to that if people are not coming out?
So I honestly would say it's the small baby steps to work towards that is, one, finding a good support group, or a group of people that is healthy enough and wise enough to speak words of hope into your life, and don't surround yourself with foolish people who just talk nonsense, and saying, oh, suck it up and get it over with kind of person, or snap out of it. That's my most frustrating phrase, is to hear snap out of it, but I would say surrounding yourself with a healthy community, and having friends who will push you towards growth and not help you get stuck or move backwards, pushing you towards growth. And once you see that, hey, I'm not alone in this, they're also going through their own set of stuff, the more people talk about what's going on in their life, the more human they feel in life.
Stigma is really not even personal today. Mm-hmm. Stigma is social.
Okay.
So the entire family tree actually faces some degree of criticism if there is a dhabba on the family. So their parents are more concerned about what people outside will say rather than what they feel.
Log kya bolenge?
Upload onto what social pressures come under them and say, क्या बोलेंगे लोग? हमारे रिश्तेदार क्या बोलेंगे? हमारी ये क्या बोलेंगे? अरे please यार, deal with the problem on hand.
With that, I have one last question to both of you. If you say it's a social issue, we have technology now really grown in leaps and bounds, and we see everything on social media. There's no personal life anymore. Somebody depressed is a story for the other one to gossip around or share on the social media. We also have technology helping us. So with the rise in technology, which can also be a benefit, it has also become a challenge.
Makes access easier, but out there in the jungle, remember one thing about human tendency. They only want to share good news. They never want to share bad news.
Okay.
Bad news is something that you closet and hide. That is somebody who you talk to about, who's a confidant, who's somebody special. You never put it out on social media that, hey, I want to turn gay and look for the likes and dislikes. You know, you can't do that. Get for good news and for things that you want to boast about. I think it's terrible for letting out secrets and confidences. You know, they told you, yeah, they're so heartless and completely, it's such a vicious kind of thing where you get publicly trolled and then you feel that you're useless and commit suicide. You see,
That is very difficult.
Yeah, no, you never ever share with social media your innermost secrets, especially if they are slightly out of normal.
So I think when you're sharing something on social media, it's a tricky question. In that, I mean, tricky response, I guess what I'm about to say is that I think it's one, why are they posting what they're posting online? What is their motive behind it? What is their intention behind it? Is it attention seeking, or are they really needing help? Is it a cry for help? So it's hard to discern that, you know? Two, I think when it comes to social media, sometimes I think take advantage of it, not to put all your information out there. That in my opinion, you know, that's not something I personally would do. But I would say, taking advantage of the media and technology is great in this generation, because in this season, because that's all we have right now, you know, and there's so many resources available right now because we know this is on the rise, and there's so much help offered out there because everyone's home now. So we all are experts of each other's problems, right? So there's someone to talk to, so reach out to someone.
Joking, I'm not on anything. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on social media. I'm not on Facebook. Because I have enough problems as it is without being, you know, I mean, I get strange people accosting me all over the place when I go there and say, oh, aren't you Prahlad Kakkar, the guy who's a...
Yeah. So don't you want that? Don't you want the starstruck environment around you?
Oh, why? I mean, they call me things like Motormouth, Muffat, you know, the guy who's fearless. I'm not fearless. I'm very scared most of the time. But I try and teach my students that you cannot get rid of fear. You can only learn to cope with it. Because if you can't cope with your fear, the fear multiplies itself into a monster and then it paralyzes you. And that's not what you should be doing. You should be acting, not being paralyzed. So all of us are afraid of something or another. You know, it's not a bad thing to admit that you're scared. But it's a terrible thing to say that I cannot deal with it.
I always believe, I'm a firm believer of it, there's always hope. There's always hope. Like I resonate with what he said, like, don't give up. I mean, someone is going through what you're going through or has gone through or something similar to it. And no one is exempt from problems in life. We all will go through it. You know, it's just a matter of how open do you want to be about it? How much do you want to share? And willing to step into that instead of dismissing it, you know, but there's always hope. That's my last.
Yes, sir.
Hope, biggest savior of any young people, because every day is a new day. You wake up with a great degree of hope that today you're going to get lucky, or you're going to make it, or you're going to get a breakthrough, or you're going to get recognized. And your dreams are all about hopes. So as long as you dream, and everybody dreams, and you try and remember your dreams, that's where your hope is.